Hey guys, it's Brittany from Drops of Jupiter Astrology, and here we are in December, and it's clearly Christmas at my house, and it's Hanukkah for others pretty soon, so, we're getting into a fun month of Sagittarius, so let's talk all about it. Okay, so Sagittarius is potentially one of my favorite signs. I hate to say that I have a favorite because every sign I'm like, oh, that's one of my favorites. Oh, I love that sign. It's one of my favorites. But, they all kind of are my favorite. But I really, really, really enjoy Sagittarius energy. And who doesn't? Because it's ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter is 300 times the size of Earth. It's this big, fat, beautiful planet. It's Zeus. It brings joy and luck and good fortune and expansion. Whatever house you have Jupiter in your chart, that house is going to be expanded. So, for example, if you have Jupiter in the 11th house, which deals with networking and the outside world and friends, you could say that you are going to have a very expansive group of friends, that you're going to be really popular. You're going to be able to network, and it's going to be huge for you. Or, if you have Jupiter in the 5th house, which represents children, you're going to have a lot of kids. It's going to be really easy for you to just pop those kids out, So, Jupiter is a really nice planet, and it's not like Pluto. Pluto's mean. Pluto doesn't like you. It goes under the radar, and it destroys things, and it blows it up in its power, and it's just like, Pluto makes things miserable, and, in a lot of ways. It's not I guess what I mean is it's not a nice, jovial planet. Even Saturn is nicer than Pluto. Even though Saturn is the one saying, hey, step up, learn your lessons, Jupiter is just like your best friend, if planets, with planets being concerned. So Jupiter is, just a really kind planet. And so when you think about a sign that's being ruled by Jupiter, the same applies to that sign. So Sagittarius, is expansive, and it is the sign that wants to have fun. It wants to indulge, loves food and all things that are soft and cozy and snuggling by the fire and beautiful houses and things that are, that just make them feel good. Eating the really, really decadent cake and tasting that and loving that, those are the things that, make a Sagittarian really happy. And so some other things that Sagittarius brings to the table is travel. Sagittarians tend to love to travel, or depending on where the Sagittarius lands in your chart. I'll give you an example for myself. I have Sagittarius in the 4th house. So that indicates that there was a lot of movement in my childhood. That could be emotional movement. That could also be physical movement. I did, in fact, move from house to house as a child. There was a lot of moving. A lot of military kids have 4th house Sagittarius, and it indicates that their childhood, their family, was constantly moving. And so that's another piece of Sagittarius, and also because Jupiter also brings to the table the idea of higher education and learning and intellect, and it rules higher education and wanting to get an education and learn, and there is a constant quest to learn, and that's partially why when we see Sagittarius and they say, you know, they're constantly wanting to travel. Well, travel is a big part of Sagittarius because when we travel, we learn and we gain information. I could travel to Italy and learn all about, you know, what goes on in Rome. And, you know, I could travel to France and then learn all about, you know, the Eiffel Tower. And I can travel to Egypt and learn about the pyramids. And, you know, I mean, when we travel, a lot of the time when we're sightseeing and things of that nature, we're learning and we're gathering information about culture and understanding what goes on with them. And that brings me to another point of Sagittarius, which is they're philosophers. They're very philosophical thinkers. People with Sag in their chart, they're going to sit back and they're going to think about something 15 ways to Sunday, and they're going to do it in a very philosophical manner. I have a stellium in Sagittarius, so I relate to this very, very much. Stellium is 3 or more planets in one sign, and they're all holding hands, or one house. And so, you know, I tend to think about things in a very philosophical way, and want to see other people's views and see if they have a different take on it. And you know, so this is a very big piece of Sagittarius, is this philosophical thinking, wanting to understand other people's philosophies, higher learning. It's a passion for them. You know, especially if you have Sagittarius, if you have, you know, what's in the 9th house for you, because that's 9th house is ruled by is Sagittarius, is Jupiter. So you know, that would also be a house that would bring those a color to those types of issues for you. You know, how much travel you're going to do, and how philosophical you are, how you feel about learning. So, you know, those are definitely things to think about. But as far as a Sagittarius individual is concerned, you know, it kind of goes one way or the other. You know, there's always balance when it comes to any of the signs. And, you know, with Sagittarius in particular, they can either go too much in the way of indulgence and wanting to have fun, and fun being the end game for everything, or they can go to the other side and kind of take the high road, or the evolved energy of Sagittarius, which would be constant wanting to, constant studying, focusing, not wanting to take a drink, or, you know, have a drink or party or do any of that stuff, never wanting to let their hair down. They're just constantly like blinders on, working, like not doing anything in the way of fun. But then there's the others that just want to have fun. They just overindulge. So if, you know, it's and they want to have too many adventures and have too much fun and laugh too big. You know, like I said, everything's expanded, you know, when it comes to Jupiter, you know, with Jupiter and, you know, with Sagittarius. So, you know, wherever that falls for you, especially if this is your sun sign, your personality is big. Sagittarians tend to be blunt. They say just blah, they blurt it out, you know, it's like, and then they get in trouble because they just want to be honest, because honesty is huge for these people. It's like why Brittany Spears, who is a Sagittarian sun, is always talking about, like in her My Prerogative video, for example, you know, people can never take away your truth, you know, but the question is, can you handle mine? You know, she says these things, and she'd always be talking about truth. And I remember as a young girl thinking, why is this person always talking about truth? I mean, I totally get it, but, you know, because I think about truth a lot. But at the time, I didn't know that I had so much Sagittarius and that she had so much Sagittarius, and that's why she's always talking about truth. And it was like, oh, okay, that's why, you know, she cares so much about truth. Because it matters to them. They want to tell the truth. And they either want to, again, it'll go one or two ways. they're either going to tell the truth and they're going to be, overly honest and overly stripped down and overly genuine. And then you're going to go, wow, I really like this person because they're just so stripped down and they just say it like it is. Or they're going to lie, or they're going to try to make the story bigger than it is, or funnier than it is, or just all around better than it is to get a reaction from somebody else to make someone else feel good so that they feel good in turn. And then it just becomes this disingenuous thing. And then people go, I don't know what it is about that person, but it just kind of seems like they're not totally, genuine or something. Well, it's because they're not being genuine. And it's all because they want people to like them. And because they want to be funny, and they want, they want to bring joy, and they want to be honest, but sometimes, honesty doesn't bring joy, and it brings, uncomfortable feelings. And Jupiter doesn't like uncomfortable feelings. Jupiter likes good fortune and happiness and laughing and, all the good stuff. So, it's really important for a Sagittarian to, be mindful of it. And that's really the main thing that astrology does for any of us. It's like, just be mindful of the things that you could be doing that aren't so positive, and be mindful of the things that you do that are positive, so that you can do more of the positives, and you can do something about changing the negatives to make them better, or learn from them, or however to switch the negatives back to a positive. And, flipping the script to just making everything an asset in some way, whether it's the negative, has become a positive because it's taught you something, and that is definitely something that Sagittarians have come to learn. And, they a lot of times will second guess themselves, and they'll overthink things, and they're indecisive, and, they'll listen to someone else's intuition over their own intuition. They're impatient, and at times they can gossip, and so when they stop trusting themselves and their own intuition, and they start trusting other people's intuition more than themselves, then they start to run into problems, and they start to get into trouble because they're not trusting themselves, and they're not listening to themselves. And so it becomes less about their truth, and more about someone else's truth. And for a Sagittarius, that is just not good. It's detrimental. You need to have your truth. Sagittarians really, it's a sign that upholds the law. Jupiter upholds the law. It enforces the law. And so Jupiter is a lot about, in Sagittarius, Sagittarian individuals really do want to see justice for themselves or for others. So justice is very important to them. As well as having freedom, not feeling like they're, stuck or, squashed down and they can't get free. Sometimes Sagittarians, depending on what your chart looks like, they could have trouble with marriage or real commitment in some instances, especially Jupiter in the 7th, or Sag in the 7th, because it can bring a little bit of not wanting to be tied down. 7th house is relationships, so Sag there, could indicate that you just really want freedom when it comes to relationships. Freedom is important to a Sagittarian. Not feeling like, they're losing themselves. And just wanting to feel like, they can be who they are and not have to feel like, they lose that when, they are with another individual in a relationship. However, they will do absolutely anything. Like, they are just such pushovers. When they finally do succumb to the whole idea of relationships and they find that person that they do feel comfortable with letting in, they're a pushover. And I mean, even for family, it doesn't even have to be like a romantic relationship. They're pushovers, and they will literally do anything for you. They'll get into crazy money trouble because they will buy you like the largest gift that you ever could have wanted, because they're just like, I thought of you and I knew you had to have that. And so, you know, they're one of the most optimistic. They are the most optimistic sign, I'm going to say, in the zodiac. So it's like, oh, I'll have money to pay that later. I know I'm going to be working like a zillion hours next week. When the bills come in, it'll be fine. Put it on a credit card. Oh, you know, and then they want instant gratification. Let's do it now. Let's get that now. I want to be happy now. I want to indulge, you know. And this expansive sign could make expansive bills. So, you know, they really need to remember that you can expand your love and caring and giving, and it doesn't have to be that you know, have to buy something for your loved ones. But a lot of times they'll get into trouble because they really are optimistic that, oh, I'm going to be able to pay that. And sometimes they can and sometimes they can't. Money is a wax and wane with Sagittarians. You know, when it comes in big. And when it leaves big. And so, you know, because this is a sign that really wants instant gratification, you know, they'll spend it fast sometimes. And so a Sagittarian needs to really have those experiences and learn how to budget and learn. You know, credit cards are dangerous when you definitely know you don't have the money in the bank, or you're not going to have the money in the bank. And, you know, it shouldn't be optimism paying your bills. It has to be physical money paying your bills, and, you know, to spend wisely. And even though you have such a big heart, not to, you know, go bankrupt because you're, you know, spending all your money on the people that you love, because they're going to love you anyway. You know, when it comes to work, these people love adventurous careers. Working inside or outside is, you know, good for them. Of course, everything is based on your chart. You're never one sign. As I've always said, you know, you may have all these attributes. You may have none of them. You may have some of them. You know, it all matters with your chart. But, you know, when it comes to work, these people are hard workers, and they tend to make pretty good money, and they're pretty successful. And what makes them so successful is it's like, you know, education is so important to them, even if it's just a means to an end, to be able to grow and evolve in the workforce and to make the money they want to make. It's important to them to have an education and to move forward with work and have skills. And it's really, you know, important to them to, you know, set a goal and to reach that goal, because they are fiercely driven. You know, a Sagittarian is, I mean, look at the Sagittarians that we know of that are famous. You know, Brad Pitt, Scarlett Johansson, Brittany Spears is one of them. Jimi Hendrix. I have my list here. Walt Disney, Tyra Banks. You know, these people had really good careers. I mean, they're icons. I mean, Dick Clark is another. I mean, think about that. These are people that have made a stamp on the world. And why? Because they're fiercely driven. That is probably one of the best things about Sagittarius, other than their optimism, you know, their amazing optimism, is that they're very driven. You know, nothing's going to stop them. They are really motivated, you know, to do what they came to do. And, you know, it's so important for them to keep going when they want something. So, you know, they leave no stone unturned, nothing undone. You know, it may take a while. They may not have overnight success, but nothing's going to be left undone. They're not just going to, like, leave loose ends. You know, they're not Aries. Aries are, like, fierce when it comes to starting something and getting things moving and, like, let's go. And they get the ball rolling. But they get bored and they start, you know, and they drift off. No. Sagittarius is not about loose ends. Not about them. And, you know, they get stuff done. And, you know, they tend to get paid pretty handsomely for it when they, do reach their goals. But they just have to make sure that they're mindful that they're not blowing all their money. Sagittarius rules the hips, thighs, and sciatic nerve. It's not unheard of that a Sagittarian is going to have beautiful legs and lower back pain. So, that's something that unfortunately a Sagittarian has to deal with. But, they do have really nice legs, strong legs. The glyph is the archer. It's a fire sign. It's a mutable fire sign, which means they can roll with the punches. They're all about transformation and not being too stuck in their ways. That's why they love education. That's why they're able to learn, because these people can hear information and change the way they feel about things. It's not like trying to tell a Leo, about this and that and the other thing, and they've got all these opinions and go, no, I don't believe that. I don't believe that. Prove it to me. The Sagittarian is sitting down going, all right, that's an interesting point of view. All right, okay, I'm going to write that down. I want to hear your point of view too, though. I want to hear both sides. Yep, and I want to hear that, and I'm going to, look at it and figure out where I fit in with this and how I feel about it. They're open to everything. They're not going to shoot you down. They want to learn. And so for jobs, teachers, a job in the travel industry, the hotel industry, law, they can be good in the healthcare field. Sagittarius is a really great, fun sign. They're blunt. These people are loud generally, and they're blunt, and they're just going to say how they feel and just bleh. And they get in trouble a lot because you may say, the husband could be a Sag, for example, and the wife comes in and goes, honey, how do I look in this dress? And he goes, oh, well, your butt looks a little big in it, but it's whatever. And she might be like, excuse me, it's not what I asked. How did I look in the dress? They're just very honest. Oh, I'm sorry. You look beautiful. I just, I don't think that it's that flattering, on your lower half or something like that, where someone might get offended because, you're saying something to them that's probably very true. It's just not saying it in a way that makes somebody feel good and it makes them feel self-conscious. And we don't ever want to do that to somebody, make them feel self-conscious. But we do want to let somebody know or be mindful that, well, this article of clothing is not that flattering on you, but this one might be better, or, whatever. And it's truth, but sometimes it hurts people's feelings, and that's where they get in trouble. They don't mean to hurt your feelings. They're just so blatantly honest that, those things can happen sometimes. So just be mindful of that, Sag. We love how blunt you are, and we love how fun you are, and we love having you at a party, hence why December party season is Sag season. So I hope everybody has an amazing Sagittarian month. This is the end of the sun sign series, or the, I don't know if it's exactly a sun sign series, it's more of a zodiac sign series, and what these traits mean to you, or what they bring to the table. I will be coming up with some really cool new video ideas. If anybody has any video ideas, I would love to hear them. You can write them in the comments below. Otherwise, I hope you guys have a wonderful holiday season, and I will see you back here soon. Thanks for hanging out, and always remember, inspire compassion. Take care, guys. Hey guys, it's Brittany from Drops of Jupiter Astrology. I completely forgot to mention, which is so crazy, brain fart, sorry on my part, I'm rhyming, is that another really big part of Sagittarius and Jupiter is religion. It's so huge. I was watching the playback of the video and I thought, oh my goodness, I didn't mention religion, which is so crazy. Religion is a really big piece of this, especially for the 9th house. This is spirituality, it's religion, and the quest to find how you feel about religion. 9th house a lot of times is, spiritual endeavors and, how spirituality and religion plays a part in your life, and how higher learning and education can aid in how you feel about spirituality, and you tend to be very philosophical about religion and understanding what that means for you, and how that shapes your life. So that's a really big piece also of Sagittarius and Jupiter, and I just wanted to add that to the video, on the tail end there, and just let you guys know that I didn't completely forget it. So just remember, that's a piece of it, is religion. So again, have a beautiful, beautiful, lovely, wonderful holiday season, and I'll see you guys back here in Drops of Jupiter Astrology.